Welcome to the As I Understand It podcast, where we get into topics that are a little bit obscure or something that we recently heard of and felt the need to learn a little bit more. We wanted to share these topics with you guys as listeners because we're hoping that over time you guys will learn along with us.
All right. Today's episode, we are actually going over in a roundabout way why it is illegal to sell cars on a Sunday, depending on where you live.
Why is it illegal to sell cars on a Sunday? That seems ridiculous.
We're about to go over it.
All right, I'm ready.
All right. So, one, yes, in some states, it is illegal to sell cars on Sunday. In some of the same states, it's illegal to sell hard alcohol on Sunday, and this all reverts back to what is known as a blue law. And that came about in 1781. And it came along because a man named Samuel A. Peters, he wrote a book called The General History of Connecticut, again, 1781, which purported to list the stiff Sabbath regulations at New Haven, Connecticut. And the work was printed on blue paper. Now we're going to come back to the blue paper part of it, because that's actually a myth.
So it actually hasn't... Never mind. I'll let you keep going because
like I said,
I figured it was religious, but now I'm curious where the blue comes in, becomes a part of it.
Yeah, like I said, it's a roundabout way, but we'll get there.
Okay.
You gotta get all the extra little bit of fluff in there before you figure out why.
Okay, I'm ready.
In case you didn't know, or our listeners didn't know, a Sabbath is a day of religious observance and abstinence from work kept by Jewish people from Friday evening to Saturday evening, and by most non-Christians is Sunday, because 6 days, seventh day he rested, that kind of thing. So, what actually came about was that there was, in this gentleman Samuel A. Peters, in his book, that there was 45 blue laws that started out in New Haven, Connecticut, because they were super strict, super by the book, like it was God's law, not necessarily, the colony's law that they followed as much as whatever.
So they kind of had their own thing going on.
Yes.
Okay.
They followed the basic laws, and they're like, well, that's not enough for us. We're going to follow the good word and be as pure and righteous as we can be, because that's how our fathers did it, and that's how theirs did it, and so on and so forth.
Okay.
So, that being said, the New Haven Puritan government came up with these 45 different laws. I'm not going to go over all of them. The car part didn't come in until later, of course, because they had horse and buggy. But it was kind of like the Ten Commandments. You can't, don't covet your neighbor's wife. Other ones were like, don't go to work. Don't do anything that would be against what God did on the seventh day, which was rest. So, this, again, started in the American colonies. It kind of lapsed after the American Revolution, because we, starting a new country, figuring out new laws, deciding if we wanted to have us run by, a president or a king, and if the church had any power or if it was separate. And as we all know, we have the separation of church and state. So that's why they kind of did away with them. New Haven kind of kept them for a while there.
Okay.
So the one blue law that most people know is you can't sell cars on Sunday. The other one is some states you can't sell alcohol, specifically hard alcohol. And then we dive further into that with, King Soopers can only sell beer, and they don't really sell a lot of the hard alcohol, specifically on Sundays.
So is it not all states?
It is not.
There are some states that you can purchase alcohol on Sundays.
Yes. Some states have done away with the blue laws because they're like, whoa, we're losing tax revenue.
Oh, okay.
We're losing this, whatever.
This is news to me. Not that any of you know this, but we're located in Colorado, and we still don't sell alcohol on Sundays.
True.
So
Some, and I have a list here of different, states. A lot of them vary by county. A lot of the southern states actually vary by county. Some, like Colorado. So Colorado, Illinois, Iowa, Maine, Michigan, Minnesota, Missouri, New Jersey, North Dakota, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, you cannot sell a vehicle on Sundays. Now this all comes back around to, I believe it was Michigan, was actually still following quite a few of the blue laws. And they came up with, well, we're not going to sell any cars on Sunday because it's God's days to rest, and so we should be doing the same. But along with that, and the actual reason, like an actual legal reason that they came up with this and still have it today, is that banks, where of course you would get financing, and insurance companies to insure your new car are not open. So they did this back in the day, and actually it was 1953 for being more accurate about it. Came up with this so that way you weren't driving illegally and you basically haven't paid for your vehicle yet. So if you were to go, hit a minivan full of kids and a mom, nobody knew who was liable for what because you weren't technically insured. And you also technically didn't own the vehicle.
Oh, so it doesn't necessarily have to do with any of the blue laws itself specifically.
Mm-mm.
It's more because everything that the blue laws affect goes into effect against when you purchase a vehicle.
Exactly.
Oh.
So the car not being able to be sold on Sunday is only because
you can't finance or insure it.
Yeah, you can't finance or insure it. Nowadays, you can insure it through, like if you go over to Mike Ward, you can insure it. It's automatically insured because of laws now. So you don't have to call your person and be like, hey, I need this insured today. From date of purchase, I think it's 10 days, 10 to 15 days where you have insurance covers it, whatever insurance you have. And it's not like liability. It's full coverage, but as low as it can go. In case you run over a soccer mom and her kids.
God forbid that ever happens.
Yeah, it's not a good thing by any means. So nowadays you can, in some states, buy a car on Sunday. And where we live, Colorado, you still can't. It's still technically a blue law that they just haven't done anything with.
Okay. So I'm curious then, and you'll have to tell me whether or not you know this, but the states where you can then purchase a vehicle on Sundays, are those states also have like their banks and everything open, or is it because of the easy access that we have nowadays, they don't have to be open for them to do that?
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head there. So with some of the states that don't have the blue law where you can't buy a car, it is because you can get financing through credit unions, banks, and then through the dealership itself.
Okay.
Where you get a line of credit from them. So they're open. So they don't care. They're like, all right, if you want to finance your Lambo through us, go for it, buddy. We're here for you. We'll give you a loan. Credit unions, theirs is an instant kind of transfer because of your credit score. Banks probably still don't want you to do it. A lot of dealerships, though, they use that stereotype of not being able to sell a car on Sunday, so they just don't open. Cuts down on overhead for the business, and then it gives everybody a guaranteed weekend day off, which, as we all know, is one of the more important parts of work life, is that work-life balance. So you get like a Sunday off guaranteed, and then another day whenever.
Okay. Interesting.
So now we're gonna circle back around to the whole the myth, the urban legend that exists around the blue law, and the myth is of course that it was printed on blue paper, which is why it's a blue law.
So I'm curious though, because how did they have blue paper back in the day?
Well, I don't know. I'm not a paper expert. I'm just telling you that it was written down somewhere that New Haven, Connecticut, their super strict Sabbath-based laws were written on blue paper.
All right.
And it wasn't. No researcher can find a scrap of blue paper from that era that had anything written on it that says, this is a blue law, this is why we can't do what we're not doing.
So basically we don't have any proof that these were ever written
down on...
Ever.
Well, we have proof they were written down. We just don't have proof that they were written down on blue paper.
So their name is null and void.
Yes. And we kind of just kept them around because everybody's like, well, yeah,
It's the blue law. Why not? It just is.
Yeah. Bob up the road said it was written on blue paper, so therefore it's a law that's written on blue paper.
Okay.
And that just sounds really long and windy, so we're going to say it's a blue law. So that was kind of interesting. And so as we've gone over, you're not supposed to work. You're not supposed to do anything strenuous.
Mm-hmm.
With that being said, after in Pennsylvania, actually, voters overturned blue laws because they were sick of not being able to go out and do anything on a Sunday. They're like, okay, I have all this free time because I'm not supposed to do anything, but nothing's open.
Mm-hmm.
So then comes the first NFL game that was played in Pittsburgh was technically illegal.
Really?
Yes, the first Sunday game played in Pittsburgh was illegal because whenever they had signed the piece of paper that said we're getting rid of the blue laws in Pittsburgh, it was set to get rid of them the next day. So if, like, it was, Sunday the 1st of whatever, it was supposed to be gotten rid of on the 2nd of whatever. So the first game was illegal that was played in Pittsburgh on a Sunday because a reverend or pastor or something like that, I don't remember who, was throwing a hissy fit that it went against everything that anybody stood for.
Gosh dang. Football.
I know.
My goodness.
Watch out, NFL.
Based on an illegal game.
Yeah.
Apparently.
Right? So I thought that was kind of interesting while I was looking at things.
Interesting.
The first game was illegal because they never got around to
signing
they signed the paper
prior to the game.
Yep, they signed it, but it was set for the day after the game, so it was technically illegal.
All right.
So,
go Pittsburgh.
woo!
Or did you say it was Philadelphia?
Well, it was overturned in Pennsylvania, but the next Steelers game was scheduled for that Sunday. So, again, some religious groups were upset, and they were saying it was illegal, and they tried to get people thrown in the pokey.
All right.
So,
Interesting.
So there you go. So
no cars on Sunday, but we got Sunday football instead.
There you go.
That was the trade-off, I guess.
Yep. And the whole reason they wanted to have NFL games on Sunday was because, Monday everybody's at work, and Saturday it's college football. Like, if you're a college football fan, you don't care about the NFL on a Saturday. So, there you go. Blue laws.
All right.
They're the reason it's illegal to sell a car
On Sunday.
In some counties, in some states. And then in some states, it's just outright illegal.
All right. I have learned something very new today.
Yeah.
A lot very new.
Yep.
Crazy.
Yeah.
I didn't know any of that.
So next time you think you want to go out and have a good time and look at a car on a Sunday, check your county and check your state. Because you never know. It might be illegal. Or they might just not be open because they're carrying that hypothetical or stereotype of it's illegal. Even if it's not. They just wanted a Sunday off.
Interesting.
They were like, go team.
Go team, go.
Right? Go Steelers. I'm not endorsing the Steelers. I don't like them.
Canceled. Canceled.
Well, heck, we live in Colorado, and I don't like the Broncos. Go Raiders.
Canceled.
Raiders.
All right. Well, Thanks, guys, for listening to our podcast today. Down below, please leave us a comment on what you thought of this podcast and any suggestions on things you might want to learn about in the future. We'd be happy to take any of those suggestions, and we'll see you all again soon. Bye.
Bye.